Welcome back to This American Ride podcast, where we talk about issues that affect you, the average American. So, what's up? Welcome back to the podcast. It's been a minute for us, and what do you think?
The new digs?
Got some new digs up in here.
Looks good. It's coming along.
Yeah, not done yet. I mean, we got nothing on the walls behind us or anything, but I did get the whiskey collection.
Yeah, it looks good.
A couple of American flags.
Yeah, I like it.
And some new furniture.
Some new chairs.
So we're not all hiding behind a desk anymore.
Yeah, no, I like it.
We had to wear pants.
I always have pants on. I don't know about you, but I always have the pants on. So,
man.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. What are we going to talk about today? There's not much going on in the world.
Yeah, right. Could you imagine? Today's a good one. I gotta lose these glasses for a minute. Today's a good one. And honestly, I'm gonna tell you, I am not putting a time limit on today. I'm just not.
See how it goes.
Yeah, because we have something that's going on in the world right now. Where did mine go? Oh, there it is.
Wow.
It just started already.
Put your glasses back on.
Well, but before we get to what's going on, what are we drinking here? This is the
Old Forester.
Old Forester 1920.
Yeah, it's got a little
What do you think? It's spicy.
little kick to it.
It's a little spicy.
115 proof.
But I mean, it doesn't. You'd think it would be killing you at 115, but it's I don't know. I think it's smooth for that, but it does have some spice to it.
Yeah, last time we were in here, I was killing that peanut butter chocolate stuff, and it tastes, it's sweet and tastes good, but man, I had too much. It hurt my stomach. It was weird, and that usually doesn't happen to me. I left here, I was like, oh man.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, well, this is not sweet.
No, this is very good.
So, the world is at a crazy place right now.
It's burning.
I feel like we thought maybe we were close to World War III back in February when Russia invaded Ukraine. Yeah. And I think I feel like right now, if you don't think we're close to World War III, I don't know what your thought process is.
You are the eternal optimist, I guess.
Man, it is brutal. So
there's a lot going on, and it's not going to get better anytime soon.
Yeah. So if you've had your head in a hole, which I'm sure most of you guys listening to us probably have not, Hamas basically launched an all-out attack against Israel. They crossed borders, kidnapped people, killed people.
October 7th.
Gunned down.
Kicked off on October 7th, sneak attack.
Yeah, it was a sneak attack. Early in the morning, they gunned down families in their homes. They killed children, beheaded babies. We all know that this is fact at this point. They made parents watch while they killed their kids, and then they killed the parents. They gunned down people at a music festival.
So let's start off. The attack wasn't on the Israeli military.
No, it is not.
Because that's not how they operate. The attack was on civilians and innocent civilians. You got people celebrating at music festivals and just people in their homes, and that's who the attack was on. So yeah, I mean, we'll get into the people defending them, but later on. But yeah, that's to kind of set the tone. That's what they did. They went after innocent civilians, women and children, and they did some of the most heinous things that Yeah, you talk about war crimes. I mean, it goes way beyond that.
Yeah, this is beyond anything. These people don't abide by the Geneva Convention. They don't abide by any of that. So it's what they're doing is basically eradication. They didn't kill people for any other reason than the fact of where they live and what their religion is. Yeah, I mean that's basically it. It's because of where they live and because they are Jewish, because they are not Muslim. However you care to look at that, that is why.
I mean, they've hated them forever, and that's never going to change.
Yeah. Yep. So it's it's tough. I mean, we work in my profession. I have a lot of, Jewish friends. I have a lot of people I know who are Jewish. I have a lot of people I know who are Jewish who are on both sides of the political fence, which is something that we're going to get into. But first, and I have a lot of notes for this one. I think we probably both have a lot of notes for this one. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Jewish faith, Jewish people believe there is one God who has established a covenant, and the God communicates through believers and prophets and rewards good deeds while punishing evil deeds. All right. And most Jews, with the exception of a few groups, and just because you're Jewish doesn't mean there aren't different sects of SECT of Judaism, just like there's different sects of being Lutheran or being Christian or Catholic or what have you. Baptist, right. So, Judaism is no exception to that. So a lot of groups believe that their Messiah has not yet come, but will one day. And I feel like that is the kind of the difference between, your typical Christian non-Jew and most of your Jews. Right? Because we believe the Messiah has come and, will one day come again.
Right.
So, just for a little bit of background, today there's about 14 million Jews worldwide. Most of them live in the United States and Israel. And a person to be considered Jewish, their mother has to be Jewish. So, yeah, did you know that? I did not know that.
No, I didn't know that.
No, I thought both your mother and your father had to be Jewish, and I think a lot of people kind of maybe look at that community because Jewish people are so, need to wed within their faith. They carry that on just like Catholics did, a generation or two ago, to keep the religion, to keep the faith, and to keep everything pure and going on. I think, the perception is, from outside people that's just like not an inclusive thing or almost like a racist thing or however you want to, put that. But I think when you look through history, they have been persecuted so many times, man. I don't disagree with that,
You don't disagree with what?
With the fact that they, try and keep their marriages and relationships within their faith. I mean, obviously there's a lot of people who don't, but there is a strong belief still that a lot of people who do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, they were being persecuted all the way back in the Bible. So,
man,
it's been a rough stretch for them.
Yeah.
But yet they continue to persevere because, I mean, in my opinion, they're, God's people and they're on the land that he promised them and they belong there.
Right, exactly. And, I mean, when you look, most people know the story, most Christians know the story about Moses leading the Jews out of slavery, out of Egypt. A lot of people don't know the fact that the Jews and Abraham actually started in what is the land of what is now Jerusalem and Israel, and they left and they migrated down to Egypt because of famine. And that was why they left. So they were originally there even long before Moses.
Yeah.
So, which people think that, Israel, 1948. Israel started in 1948.
Yeah.
And that's that's some Palestinian, or I shouldn't even say Palestinian. It's anti-Semitic rhetoric to say that Israel did not exist until 1948.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just this whole topic gets me a little
fired up,
and just trying to. I want to choose my words wisely, and Carolyn told me to stay calm and not get too heated. But that whole. I mean, they're surrounded. Everyone they're surrounded by hates them, and most of the people there want them gone, dead, wiped off the face of the planet.
Yes, We'll get into that.
That's what this is all about, you know?
Yeah, this is not about land.
No. That's a convenient cover story, but the bottom line is the people there that they're surrounded by, you know, we all know who they are. They hate them. They hate them and they want them gone.
Yeah.
You know? And the reality, and, you know, the other part of this whole talk today is like, you know, this stuff's going on over there in Israel, but how does it affect us here in the United States? You know, and well, it affects us because we're like a close second right behind them to who they hate.
Oh yeah.
You know, real close second. They hate us too. I mean, they're literally, you know, over there as we speak, protesting. I don't know what they're protesting, but marching, chanting, and they, you know, there's the usual death to America, blah blah blah. And, you know, so that's their, you know, once they get rid of Israel, we're next. And let's be honest, there's no shortage of American haters living amongst us.
No.
So.
No, I know you say close second. I don't even think we're a close second. I think we are just a more inconvenient target. I mean, people don't realize, and I saw, I think it was Trey Yingst from Fox did a piece on what the missiles are made of that these guys are launching. And they're basically pipe, like a water pipe, basically, that are filled with fertilizer.
Well, where'd they get the pipe?
I have no idea where they got the pipe.
I know where they got a lot of the pipe.
Oh.
Those are water pipes that they dug up that were put there by people trying to help their country out, that you know, donated money and all this stuff to put this water in because they were crying about not having water and food and blah blah blah. So of course, like always, other nations come in and donate time, money, and resources and put in these water lines. They dug them up and they're using them to make rockets.
To make rockets.
And then they wonder why they don't go where they're supposed to and they blow themselves up.
Yep. And we'll get to that. I think with the rocket attacks, I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, Israel has the Iron Dome, which is an insane defense system. It's better than anything we have here in the United States. The problem with the Iron Dome in this case is that Gaza stockpiled so many rockets. They launched over 5,000 rockets in a couple of hours, and the Iron Dome just couldn't.
I mean, there's only so much.
Just couldn't keep up. I mean, what do you do? You know, to the point where they launched so many rockets that it was just confusing the targeting system of the Iron Dome.
Yeah,
you know,
there's only so much you can do against something like that.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, they're still so much more powerful than what they're fighting. It's just a matter of time. You know.
Well, I mean, we'll see. The irony of it, the other irony of it is you have, Shia and Sunnis, and I have to double check my facts. I believe that Hamas is Sunni, and Hezbollah and Iran are Shia. Iran is like split Shia Sunni, but it's like 70% Shia.
I'll take your word for it.
And different Muslim groups that guess what? They don't like each other. They would actually kill each other. They have killed each other. And in Iraq, Shia and Sunnis and Kurds fought all the time. I mean, it was a thing. It was, one of the best things Saddam did was every time there was an uprising, he just kicked the crap out of everybody, and everybody shut up for a little while. But right now, it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Oh yeah, well they have a common enemy, of course.
Right, they have a common enemy, which they consider Western expansion. Mm-hmm. That's how they look at Israel as Western expansion. So it's tough, man. There's a lot of people dying.
There's a lot of people dying, and right off the bat on that, opening, little invasion, there was over 1,400 killed, another 3,400 or so they said injured.
Yeah.
200 to 250 hostages taken. Some of those were American.
Yes.
Again, let's circle back to how it affects us and why it matters. Some of those were American. A lot of people from America, a lot of Americans go to Israel on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. So at any given time, there's a lot of Americans over there.
Yep.
Because it's such a huge religious, place to be, and a lot of people, a lot of Christians and stuff want to go there, and
I would love to go there to see some of it. I mean, I have no intention on doing any of that right now, but I feel like there's a lot of U.S. industry that's based over there. I mean, Biosense Webster is a huge medical device company, part of Johnson & Johnson. They're based in Haifa. There's a lot of huge ties. But I feel like the number of American hostages, and this number has varied, is around like 40.
That's
I think
what
they
I last
said.
heard, yeah.
But here's the problem with that, and I just wanted to talk about this before we moved on. Last month, we sent a message to the world as a country, right? Mm-hmm. We sent a message to the world that every American hostage you have is worth $1 billion. This is why historically, and people understand.
You want to explain that?
Well, we can't explain that. But when you hear things like we don't negotiate with hostages as a country, like that's been we don't negotiate with terrorists. That's been our hard line for a long time as a country. Obviously, that is not our line anymore. But this is the reason that we've had that stance, because now the Biden administration sent $60 billion to Iran in exchange for hostages. Now, since that money's been frozen, there's all kinds of stuff that's going on. But just by doing that, whether you froze the funds or not, whether Iran seized the money or not, but just the act of doing that sent a message. And those funds were not frozen before this attack, mind you.
Right.
Sends the message to the world, whether it's Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, Somalia, whoever, whoever you can think of that are, enemies of the state, that every American you get is worth $1 billion.
Yeah. And why wouldn't they snatch up as many as they could? Right?
Yeah.
But you hear some of the stories, man. If you've been watching and paying attention, the news, just this, that, and the next. Some of the stories of the people they're saying that were, taken, some sad stuff, man. There was one they showed, and again, like, we don't know 100% fact on a lot of this, but it's, some of it's pretty solid. That there was one like disabled, like I guess like teenage child, but it was in a wheelchair and had to be taken care of and fed through tubes and stuff by its parents, and they took that person. Do you think that person's that kid's alive? Like what? They're taking care of it, feeding him through tubes or whatever. Or I can't remember if it was a her or he, but like just sad. The kids, children.
I mean, how many of those people are still alive? I don't.
And I'm sure they want.
I'm
sure they want them alive for exactly the reason you said. Like they want something out of it, and that's why they took them. But at the same time, I mean, I doubt they're jumping through hoops to keep them alive.
Yeah.
God knows where they have them, what kind of conditions.
Oh, they got to be. If they're alive, they have to be underground. At this point.
They're in tunnels.
They have to be.
I mean, golly.
So
it's insane to think of the stuff that they did, and then like we literally have, and we were talking about this earlier. You have people over here just want to debate the whether this even happened or these people died or they killed babies. When there was a lot of people on the ground, like with proof, with footage of it, but then when the other way around, and this whole thing happened with the failed rocket launch that supposedly came from, Israel and bombed a hospital and killed 500 people, innocent people or whatever. And our media is so quick to run with that.
There was
with no factual evidence.
No.
And then turns out, it wasn't Israel. There's proof now that it was their own crappy rocket. It didn't hit the hospital. It hit the parking lot next to the hospital. And there's zero proof that anyone, let alone 500 people, are dead.
Yeah.
So it's really sad when you think about, and that's, kind of one of the big areas I wanted to get into, because I really do care about how, as much as I care about Israel, I care more about the U.S. And I want to get into how it's really affecting us. And it's so sad and disgusting to see, to me, how many people we've allowed in here to this country that are basically terrorist sympathizers, and they're now causing massive uproars all over the country, especially on college campuses, pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas. Mm-hmm. And, they want Israel to stop, defending themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I feel at an extreme, if you don't support Israel for whatever reasons you have for not supporting Israel, I don't understand how you can be an American at this point, not like from Palestine, like that's not your religion. Obviously, if you're part of that, you're going to support your people. Obviously, I get that, but how you can be an average American born here, and I've seen so many posts on Instagram, to support Gaza, support the children of Gaza, and I get it. Children in Gaza are dying because a large part of it is the world. War is different now. Like the firepower that we have now levels cities.
How drastically wrong have things gone that when something like this happens, we can't even be unified as a nation on who was wrong and who was right? And something like that, I mean, this isn't, it's not like splitting hairs, man. This is, you would think it's pretty common sense on how wrong this was and how horrific this was. And then to see these videos of how many people are wearing these Palestine flags and they're outraged like something horrible was done to them in the middle of the night. And they're here. We've welcomed them in.
Oh yeah.
It's really scary. Yeah. Like if you don't look at this and see exactly why the Second Amendment is there, you're a lost cause.
You don't get it.
You're a lost cause.
The irony of that is a lot of these women who are out here protesting would not have the right to protest.
Well, not only the right,
in Gaza and Palestine,
right, and most of that part of the world,
correct.
Not only would they not have the right to protest, which always cracks me up that they live in all these places where they have zero rights, and they don't do anything about it, right? They do nothing about it over there. They don't fight for any rights in these countries, but they come here and they're so quick to voice their opinion on how horrible America is. And they have no problems being bold and boisterous here, but quiet as a church mouse when they're back in their homelands, scared to death of what would happen to them if they open their mouth. But then let's think about how many of these people, and you see it all the time now on like Instagram and stuff, these photos of the different communities, LGBTQ community, holding up their flags, and coexisting or standing with Palestine. Who's going to tell them? Somebody tell them. What would they do to them in Palestine? You'd be thrown off a building.
You'd be beheaded.
They're not exactly pro-LGBTQ in Palestine and a lot of other parts of that.
No.
That world.
No.
And yet they're here acting like people like me and you and conservatives and stuff are so horrible and that we need to be more understanding of the Palestinian people, and they wouldn't last 2 seconds there. Those people don't care about them. They don't care. Don't get me wrong. They're all about misinformation and propaganda. So they're probably eating it up and loving that they're here protesting on behalf of the Palestinian people in Gaza and whatnot. But if they were there, they would kill them.
Yeah. And, people are like, killing women in this situation. I have printed here. This is the covenant of the Hamas covenant in 1988. The covenant of the Islamic resistance movement. That's what it is considered. And when you brought up women, I knew that I had read something I didn't highlight it here. But Article 17 says the Muslim woman has a role no less important than that of the Muslim man in the battle of liberation. They are combatants.
Of course they are.
They want, women. These women want, under this doctorate, these women want, the death to Jerusalem. Death to Israel, basically. Yeah. That's their role for women. Their role for women isn't having a voice. It's a combatant. Yeah. And it's the ability to create men to further the jihad. This is an interesting article. I mean, honestly, had we not done this podcast, I never would have,
found that. I didn't even know that existed.
I never would have printed this out. And it doesn't change my feelings on what side I support, because it's insane. I mean, Article 31, peace and quiet would not be possible except under the wing of Islam.
Yeah.
Is there a way to interpret that I'm not understanding?
I think they make it pretty clear. I mean, they don't really pull punches on what their goals are. I mean, I've seen interviews. I mean, I just saw one with in Canada, a Muslim being interviewed, and he said straight up, like, their goal is they won't be happy until their religion is in every home on the planet.
Correct. That's exactly what this doctor says.
Every home on the planet. And he said, and he mocked the guy that was interviewing him, that and it's right under your nose, right in your face, and you don't do anything about it. And he straight up said, like, why does your country, like he said queen, because I guess, I mean, I don't know all the Canada crap, but he's like, why didn't your queen, why don't you guys, change the law? And the guy's like, what do you mean change the law? Well, make the law so that we can't do what we're doing here.
Yeah.
He's basically just flaunting in their face that your own laws allow us to come here and take over your country, and it's the same thing that's happening here.
It is the same thing that's happening.
Exactly the same thing. And they're a protected class here. And if Christians, conservatives, almost anybody were protesting and chanting and saying the things that these people are saying, are now very corrupt legal system would arrest them for hate speech, because freedom of speech really isn't a thing anymore. So they would arrest them for hate speech because hate speech is unacceptable, right?
Oh, they would be canceled.
But these people are just, you got to let them be. They're screaming, like, and they're yelling violent stuff, like, far worse things than what,
They're yelling death to Israel in Times Square in New York City.
Yeah.
And here, Article 13, initiatives and the so-called peaceful solutions in international conferences are in contradiction to the principles of the Islamic resistance movement. So there will not be peace. Peace is in contradiction to the principles.
Meanwhile, our borders are wide open.
Yeah.
Wide open.
If you don't think we don't have...
There are so many...
We don't have cells here.
Terror cells in this country. It's not even funny. And
have you looked at Elon Musk? I mean, go find Elon Musk's Twitter. Go find the Elon Musk post where he basically walked around live and recorded people coming across the border of military-aged men who were not from Mexico. They were not from Central America.
Well, most of the people coming across the border at this point are from Mexico.
They were from the Middle East, mostly Syria. And
they've busted Chinese nationals.
Where are you going? Going to New York. I'm going to Chicago. Nobody was going to Kansas. All right. Nobody was going to Minnesota. These people were going to our major metropolitan cities. I mean,
I just don't understand, like, how we've let this happen.
Yeah.
I mean, what a plan, what a extremely well devised and brilliant plan it's been by the American Communist Party to get us to here. They're doing exactly what they want, but I just can't believe that all of us have just let this happen. And what's scary to think is, where are we at if Biden has 4 more years?
I don't know. I didn't think we'd be here.
I mean, it's gotten bad fast.
I can't possibly know where we're going to be in 4 years.
We're not even through 4 years.
Because I didn't think we'd be here.
It's gotten bad fast, and if it doesn't scare you, if it doesn't really make you realize, I mean, again, we've talked about this before, how many people how many people we know, I know personally, that act like, and say politics don't affect them. They don't vote, stuff like that. Like, come on, man. Like, what is it going to take for you to realize that you have to pay at least a little bit of attention to the things that affect you on a daily basis?
Oh yeah.
I mean, not even talking about the border thing and it being wide open and what's coming here, but just, I mean, who can legitimately, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, who can legitimately look someone in the face and say that financially and any other way, like, you're better off today than you were 4 or 5 years ago?
No.
Who could say that without, like, you can't.
No, you have to be in a situation where you don't even worry about money to not be worried about money today.
Like, either A, you're rich as crap, or B, your check comes from the government.
Yeah, right. I mean,
you don't work, so
they're the two.
You might be better off than you were, but you're still buying things, and everything's more expensive. Another different topic, but it's just like,
yeah.
I can't imagine, like, with 7 million like illegals, at least that they know of, have come across the border since Biden took over and just destroyed all the policies that Trump put in place. And you still have more time on this 4 years, and then should he win, it's scary. If you're not at least a little bit scared, my only hope is that all of these, and I don't mean this in a negative way. This is a positive way. I'm saying that all the hillbillies, all the rednecks, all the country boys, all these people who have all these weapons and brag about having all these weapons, and I hope you're not all talk, because you might really find out sometime in your lifetime that you can't be about talk. You might actually have to take action.
Yeah,
and I'm not talking about against our government. I'm just talking about what's actively invading us right now, because they're not just coming here to do nothing. They're not just coming here to do nothing. They're not coming here just because they want our welfare or they want to make money. That's not why they're here. There's a reason they're coming, and it's going to come to a head at some point. Not this, get everybody all scared, doom and gloom, but we're in kind of a doom and gloom situation right now.
I mean, I have faith in the American people that it's. People think they see discrimination now, and I said this after 9/11. Let these people come over here and start blowing up restaurants and see how many people that even look Muslim are then allowed to be in restaurants. And whether I'm not, what I mean, I'm not saying that that's my stay, but I mean that is what that is. I mean that.
I know, but with the current state, it's like something like that would happen, and then people would take that stance and that reaction to it, and the entire left side would then come down hard on them,
right?
Because we're at a point in our society where we defend the criminals, we defend people that are wrong,
we defend the undefendable,
and do it happily and make excuses for them and villainize the people that were actually victims. That's where we're at now. So
yeah,
I don't know, like, if that were to happen and this starts popping off and they start suicide vesting restaurants in New York or Chicago or whatever, like, it's when the American people have a reaction to that, then what? Then what's going to happen? And what our government's going to do? They're not going to back us.
It's not going to be difficult. I mean, it's ball bearings and fertilizer. I mean, these people are not using advanced weapon systems.
No.
That's what I think. I mean, Oklahoma City, man, they took down almost an entire city block with a truck full of fertilizer. It is a very possible thing, and we're very lax right now, I feel, as a country. We were very tight after 9/11 for a while. I feel like right now we're very lax. And something's going to happen. I don't even know. I don't even know what the reaction will be when something happens, But people talk about, like, these back to these, like, kids in Gaza. Hamas is in there. Hamas didn't hostilely take over. They were elected. 65 to 70% of the population, via the CIA, which was put out, are Hamas supporters or sympathizers in Gaza.
Or they're just too cowardly to stand up to them. Because they did come in and from what I understand, they did kill a lot of their adversaries. Mm-hmm. Kind of like
Yeah, nobody's rising up
kind of
against
like what Biden's trying to do right now.
Nobody's rising up against them. I mean,
but see, that's where I have a real beef with this whole refugee thing, right? How many people do we have coming to our country daily, claiming to be refugees, fleeing their, the horrible things in their country?
And they get more of a check from the government than my mother gets in Social Security. By the way,
yeah,
they give these people $2,000 to come in here.
That's a problem. But my point being that, forgive me as an American who comes from a line of people who earned their freedom and fought for it against a far more powerful army. Forgive me for not feeling sorry for these people. Why are you not standing up for yourselves in your countries? Why are they all just like they claim, right? Whenever if you talk about Muslims, you talk about whatever, they all say, well, it's not the majority. It's not the majority. It's a small percentage of the Muslims that are radicals. Well, if it's such a small majority and there's so many of you, we all know there's bazillions of Muslim people in the world. Why are you not fighting back against this small number that's causing you to have to flee your country?
I mean, and that's the thing. Like I know that there's peaceful Muslims out there.
Of course,
I know that the Quran itself is not a book that is based upon violence. It is no different than the Crusades, who went in and conquered people to force Christianity upon people who were Christian. They are essentially doing to people now what was done to them, and justifying it and saying that it was right, and then saying that it is the only way to be. So, and in this, that's why when I look at this doctorate, this doctorate is just, it's insane in the fact about how it talks about, on one side, the Crusades and the Western expansion and Israel being part of Western expansion. And then literally in the same doctrine, it talks about how Islam needs to be in every home.
Yeah.
So you don't like the Western expansion, but you want Islamic expansion.
Yeah.
The document's insane. It's insane.
Extremely hypocritical people.
And as far as like people sympathizing right now, I honestly think that we have people in this country right now, and maybe people did in this country back then, and I just don't know about it, that if there was a Holocaust going on right now, they would sympathize with the Nazis. Mm-hmm. They would be Nazi sympathizers.
It's no different.
There's no difference being a Hamas sympathizer right now than there is with you being
none
a Nazi sympathizer.
Absolutely none.
And by the way, the Russians persecuted Jews too.
Mm-hmm.
So the Russians are, don't jump in and defend Israel. Don't do this. Don't do that. The Russians have Putin's got a whole list of demands right now for the world of who they should and shouldn't help. And, by the way, the Russians, no fan. The Russian people on the whole, no fan. There were a lot of Jews persecuted in Russia by Russians in villages, because the Jews were so displaced in the 19th century and the early 20th century. Mm-hmm. They were in Russia. They were in Europe. Most Jews were in Europe.
So how close in your opinion, how close to World War III are we right now? Ooh. Because, if
I feel like we are closer than we've been in our lifetime. And by closer than we've been in our lifetime, I feel like the minute the U.S. gets kinetically involved in this conflict, and I don't have faith that we will not get kinetically involved in this conflict. I think the minute we get kinetically involved in this conflict, the gloves are going to be off.
Well, how do we not if Iran gets involved?
We have to.
Right.
We have to. And then Iran is involved. So let's not be.
They're involved. We know that.
Let's not be naive about that. Iran is involved. But if Iran becomes militarily,
right?
If Iran becomes, and that's why I want to use that word. If Iran becomes kinetically involved, we will be kinetically involved. I don't know that we won't be kinetically involved against Hezbollah, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Israel is one front away right now from needing serious help. Mm-hmm. They're fighting on two fronts. They're fighting on Gaza, which they have, for the most part, kind of leveled from the pictures that I've seen. I mean, they have just decimated that city. And, now Hezbollah is moving in on the north.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
And Hezbollah, again, is basically, is basically a subsidiary of Iran. They are directly funded. Iran's not even shy about funding them.
Yeah.
But
I don't see how it doesn't get to that. I really don't. It's not like we have a leader that can somehow smooth this over or fix this without it getting worse.
Yeah.
I mean, we basically have a vegetable who just, went over there today and embarrassed the crap out of us just because he's completely incompetent and worthless.
Yeah, it's brutal.
I mean, listening to Joe Biden talk, like I told you earlier, it's like he has two buttons. One is angry and he screams into the microphone.
Hey, pal.
And he pumps his fist, and it's hilarious because you see the pictures on Instagram and the comparison. And he literally is doing the Hitler motions and the Hitler faces, and just he's irate, or you can't tell if he's awake
or he's drugged,
and he's mumbling and he's really low and he's
sedated.
It's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
Yeah,
the people that wanted to freaking talk about Orange Man and just rip on Trump. And then actually back this dude, this freaking potato, who has no idea where he is. It's full blown. He can't go anywhere on any stage or anything without his wife to guide him on and guide him off.
Because he remember that was that clip. He turns into a Roomba.
He turns into the Roomba when he's done. He turns around. He shuffles 2 feet this way. Shuffles 2 feet this way. Looks around. Shuffles 2. It's hilarious.
I wish I could take credit for that. I can't.
No, that was. There's so many. The creativity of the memes are great, but at the same time, it's freaking sad because it's true.
Yeah.
And anybody that thinks that he's making any decisions or calling any shots. At this point, you just got to be brain dead.
Well, I mean, I think, in the U.S. government is set up so that, one person isn't, obviously supposed to be making the final decision, but, really is.
Yeah, but he doesn't have any thoughts of his own.
No, he can't. I think, and all that being said, all the potato talk being said.
I got more.
I know you do. I think that is why they are striking Israel now.
100%.
And I think that's what people just can't see, because they are not going to take the risk. One, they know we've depleted resources to Ukraine, right? We've depleted ammo caches. We've sent, probably all of our second tier tanks, to Ukraine. We've got a ton of resources that we've gotten there, and they cannot take the chance that Biden is going to not get reelected. And that is why Iran and the leaders of Hamas were in Lebanon last month. That is why this attack was blessed by Iran, because now is the time. Now is the time when we are perceived at being at our weakest.
Oh, we are. There's no doubt about it. Perceived or not, it's put us in such a bad spot. We're so fragile right now.
It's not good. And I think that we are, I said this to somebody yesterday. I said probably the biggest problem is that people think that we are safe here at home. And I don't. I've never felt less safe here at home. And that includes after 9/11.
Oh, yeah.
I've never felt less safe.
I've never. This is the first time I'm ever feeling in jeopardy. Just anything could happen.
Yeah.
As far as I'm talking an attack, an invasion, and whatever. Because we've just spent the last and it's not just with Biden. We've spent years being bleeding hearts and letting all these people in.
Yep.
Unvetted. How many people did we bring over from Afghanistan when that whole botched closure in Afghanistan happened? We just brought people over. We don't know who those people are, And there's no way you can tell me that there weren't bad actors in those groups of people brought over.
There's no way that the speed and everything of that evacuation and the people that they were trying to get out of there, there's no way that everybody was vetted to the extent.
Probably wasn't even it's probably a fraction of people that were vetted.
Yeah.
A fraction. And now
it's chaos.
Bringing that back to how this affects us again. Look at the plan already in place by the radical left right now. Mm-hmm. What's the plan right now? Well, we have to bring in up to 1 million Palestinian refugees because their home is war torn. So we have to bring them here because it's our duty. You know, that's what we do as a nation. The precedent's been set. You have this freaking the Squad.
Yeah.
Okay, AOC and Rashid Tlaib and all these basically foreign operatives that we've elected to run our country it's already being pushed that we have to take these people in. Like you just said, they are, if the worst or best case, they're sympathizers of Hamas.
Best case.
And more likely they're part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then we'll just bring them here and just funnel them into our society. We just don't learn.
I feel like at this point, it has gotten what the Squad has made me think. You have to be born on U.S. soil, born a U.S. citizen to run for president. I feel like we need to change that to the point where you need to be born here to run for Senate, to run for the House.
I'm on board.
It's because if you're walking down the hallway getting chased by a reporter and you won't, say that they should not be had babies.
If you can't openly say that you don't support Hamas,
then
what are you doing as a government official?
Yeah.
An elected representative of the American people.
Yeah.
But you can't come right out and say that what they did was wrong and you do not support it.
Yeah.
You run from the reporter and call the Capitol Police.
I'd love to see where the money in her bank account comes from.
It's insane. It's insane. Like we just keep hitting ourselves and just you're stressing me out now.
You know what the problem is? Honestly, you know what the real problem is we the people are not pissed off enough yet. That's the problem. There's people that are pissed off. I mean, obviously,
not enough though. That's just it.
There's not enough. There's not enough people that are pissed off.
Not enough people to really to take an extra step other than just being pissed off. You know?
Yeah. And this is the whole. I mean, what's different in this country today than was different in this country when this country banded together against the Nazis, which again, by reading history, I assume as a country we banded together against the Nazis because that's what I was taught, right? So I assume that there wasn't all this dissent and all this stuff that was, a huge amount of, publicized Nazi sympathizers around, but maybe there was. But honestly, it's the family unit has been broken down by the liberals. It's just been been broken down, and whether you connect that to religion, whether you connect that to not eating dinner together,
fatherless homes.
I mean, there's a whole, and now I'm gonna say something that's probably gonna get me a few comments. I put a lot of it on, and I think I'm all for equality, women, men, everybody being equal, but I think a lot of the breakdown occurred when women left the home and started working, because I think women kept the house together. They kept everything. They kept everybody together. They kept the family together. They had the dinner together. Mm-hmm. They, were more involved than the men in the church, in the community, and they had the time to do that. And, we came across with this whole, and I think, I don't think women not being able to vote was ever right, but by creating a society where women, are now working and in careers, just like men have been for, generations, it has left a void that has just unraveled our society.
Yeah, well, the TV started raising our kids instead of...
Yeah.
And I mean, it was happening when we were kids. The TV started raising them because mom and dad are both at work, latchkey kids, right?
Listen, Gen Z, man, we were 30 at age 8 and we're 30 at age 47.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. And I feel like a lot of that, it took like 20 years for that, 30 years for that to manifest. But now it's unraveled to a point where it's just insane.
Yeah, they've definitely, I mean, it's been I feel like it just seems like it's not an accident.
No.
It just feels like this has been just like...
It was the long game.
The people that have wanted to destroy America since the beginning have just played the long game.
Yep.
And they knew that we had to destroy ourselves from within.
Yeah.
So they've planted all the seeds and done everything right, man. Mm-hmm. And it's like you're seeing it unfold, and
yeah,
it's kind of, I mean, it was kind of brilliant on their part, but it's kind of scary because we've gotten so lax that we've just caved to every bleeding heart, agenda on the planet, that we've not stuck to our own roots.
Yeah.
Of what made America, the most powerful nation on the planet. And you said, you wonder if there were sympathizers here. Well, for one, I think most of the German sympathizers went back to fight.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously don't agree with their take, but that's like at least the manly thing to do, right? And then you had people back then for World War II, you had people who couldn't go fight. Like you had men kill themselves because they were so ashamed that they couldn't go fight. Mm-hmm. Right? For whatever reason, if they weren't medically okay to be in the military, things like that.
Yeah.
They were so ashamed and embarrassed that they killed themselves back then. Now you have, the beta males that would kill themselves if they got drafted and had to go.
Right.
They would do anything to get out of having to go fight because we've just raised, without fathers and without moms at home, we've raised multiple generations now of freaking wussy beta males.
Yeah.
And
yep.
It's all starting to like take its toll. You can't be a strong nation with a bunch of, little wusses.
Yeah.
Try to keep it clean.
It's crazy that, there are a lot of people here in America who are Israeli who have left their jobs. And I hate to talk about her on the show, but Taylor Swift's bodyguard left her and has gone back to the IDF.
Really?
To fight for Israel. And he was just in the headlines because there's a fan that went to jump on her, and he protected her, right. And he's this, good looking Israeli dude, obviously. And, he got a lot of press for that, but he did just, leave his post of, as her personal bodyguard to go back. And there were a couple of stories that I was looking at in the New York news because I happened to be in the Upper West Side of New York for work yesterday, which is basically the Jewish capital of America. Some 60,000 Jewish people live on the Upper East Side. I'm sorry. And there were a lot of stories about, people who are, physicians. There was a couple of physicians who, left to go back to Israel to, not fight, but help support the cause and care for wounded and do your thing. So I guess my point of talking about that is, you see all these military age males who are, in Times Square or in, Chicago or in downtown Detroit or in LA, where have you, chanting death to Israel, liberate Palestine. Well, bro, why don't you pack your bags and go help liberate some Palestine? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't fault you for that. That's your cause. Saddle up, Buttercup. Go over there and...
That was my whole point earlier, though, even with in the whole refugee thing, saying, mm-hmm. Don't come here and whine about what's going on in your country.
Go fix it.
Why'd you leave? Man up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Nobody was more outnumbered than we were here, 1774 or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, man up. People got to die, but if you want to be free, that's what it takes.
Freedom has a cost.
They want to come here and they want to spew their crap, but they don't want to like get their hands dirty. They just want to ruin our country. Another thing you were saying, like just going into this whole gradual effect of us being where we are today is we've allowed them, and them being people on the left, the anti-American people on the left, that we've allowed them to make us feel guilty for wanting to put America first.
Yeah.
Calling us nationalists, like that's some sort of horrible thing. The funny thing is, almost every country on the planet is nationalist and puts their country first, except us. When we do it, it's some outrageous, horrid thing.
Yeah.
But everyone else, everywhere, puts their country first, puts their people first. Just not us. We're not allowed to.
Well, France hasn't been putting their people first, and they that's gotten them into a bit of a pickle right now.
Well,
they've had to shut down the country.
France.
There's a terrorism attack in Belgium, which is obviously a different country, obviously, than France, but very similar policies in Belgium, and they just had a terrorist attack there this morning.
But you see, like, again, like, I will say we're not the only ones doing a horrible job of not letting people in our country that shouldn't be in our country. Look they've had the same issues in England. I mean, as soon as this thing kicked off, they had vehicles with Palestinian flags on it going up and down the streets with bullhorns chanting horrid things.
Mm-hmm. Death to Israel.
And they were saying stuff like rape their women, this, that, and the next. Like, they're like, there's no shame in that, right? Yeah. There's no honor. Like, they don't fight that kind of war. There's no Geneva Convention, like you said, right? So we're not the only ones that have done a terrible job of it, but man, we've done a bad job. And now look at like yesterday, today, you have all these they say protests, but they're not protesting anything. They're just marching and creating chaos all over the world. All over. Jordan, Egypt. What were some of the other? I forget. There's a whole bunch of them over there in the Middle East. They're going to American embassies, trying to get in, trying to bust down the gates, things like that. They're at the U.S. Capitol yesterday and today doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. They were actually, again, this is the stuff that blows my mind. There were actually these pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, let's just call it what it is, pro-terrorist people inside the Capitol today, protesting.
Yep.
Well, how many people from January 6th got locked up for the same thing? But now, when it's not, majority white conservative people doing it, it's okay. White conservative people do it, they got to go to jail. It's an insurrection. Mm-hmm. Are you following along like with this pattern that's just been building and building and building? It
fits the narrative.
It's crazy.
It fits the narrative. It's
I never thought we would. I never believed I would live to see like this in our country. And now, like I tweeted it the other day or whatever, and I posted it like,
I saw it.
At this point, and it pains me to say it, but I feel like we're so far gone right now. And God, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope you guys maybe in the comments can like talk me off the ledge. But I feel like I'm gonna live to see basically the fall of the United States.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
How long do you think it takes? It doesn't take generations and generations and generations.
No, well, hey, listen. Ronnie Reagan said it. Freedom is only one generation away. I mean, that.
And we have. I don't want to go extreme and say like half the people, but we have a large chunk of people in this country that like don't like this country and don't like any of its founding beliefs.
Correct.
And are working daily to dismantle them.
Correct.
You only fight that back so long when you have people that you've elected into political office that are sympathizers with them and they're just doing everything they can to change the law. I mean, just look at this assault on Trump and what they're doing to try to keep him from winning another election and being president again. Well, they're going to all costs. I know that's a whole other podcast, but it's a whole. It ties into the state of where we are and the mess that we are in. with zero leadership.
At this point, what they're doing to the guy is complete election interference. And you know what? As much as they're doing to him, he is still a leading GOP candidate.
Well, they said again today, another one just came out, another poll that he's double-digit lead in like the swing states
everywhere
right now.
So the next move that you're going to see from the left against Donald Trump is for them to try to remove him from the ballot. Well, that's the only way that they're going to keep him out of this race. Is they thought they were going to keep him out of this race by keeping him in court. They're not. They're going to have to.
No, they want him in jail, literally in jail. It's the only way.
If he's in jail and on the ballot, he's going to win.
Well, okay, but how does that work?
I mean,
how does that work, though?
I don't know how that works, but they need to get him off.
How does that work?
They need to get him off the ballot for him not to win. I think
they put
at
a nice
point.
office in the prison or what?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's like the all out assault on him because they're scared to death of him. But my thing is I don't care what these polls say. Republicans, who I'm ashamed and embarrassed to be a Republican, because our elected leaders are the worst.
We're screwing the pooch right now.
They're so pathetic and weak that they've done zero to fix the problems of past elections. And I don't care what the polls say. I don't care. And I believe from the last one, I'm sorry, whatever, I believe that he didn't lose.
Yeah.
But if you don't fix the issues and the fraud and the craziness, we're just going to have another 3 a.m. swing. I'm going to go to bed. He's going to be up massive. I'm going to wake up and they're going to tell me that Biden won again.
Yeah.
Because who's fixed any of these problems?
I wonder how the country's going to handle that a second time when they do that.
They did squat the first time.
Well,
how that's great question. What does it take? How much does it take before the people like us, right? The people with jobs and the people basically, funding this country with our work. What does it take for us to march in the streets and stop taking this crap?
Yeah. It's it's brutal.
Because I don't think anything would happen. I think it would be the same old. We'd whine and we'd cry and then we'd just take it.
And part of the Constitution, and people don't get it. I mean, did Trump challenge the election? Yes, Trump did challenge the election. And I think, the Constitution, which this nation is, the principles that this nation is founded on, provide the right for him to challenge that election. They provide the right for anybody to challenge the election.
Hillary didn't challenge it?
Hillary challenged the election.
Who was the joker? Was it Gore? Who lost to Bush?
Mm-hmm. Also challenged the election.
Who challenged that? What happened in Florida?
I mean, because we forgot.
They can just challenge whatever they want. Trump does it, and he's trying to destroy the Constitution.
We've forgotten about the hanging chads, right? Remember the hanging chads?
Oh God, man!
There's a whole generation of people now that are posting, pro-Palestine stuff.
The biggest problem with
no
America
idea
is
what a hanging chad is.
The biggest problem with America is we have such short memories. Mm-hmm. We don't hold a grudge like we should. You see this stuff going on in the Middle East. These are battles they've been fighting since the beginning of time because they don't forgive and forget. They don't forget.
Right.
The grudge stays there forever from generation to generation, and that we left out another reason why how horrible these Hamas people, these terrorists are. Did you see the whole thing about how they raise their kids? No.
You
didn't see the cartoons?
No.
They literally have cartoons that they show these kids from the beginning of the cartoons are saying how the Jews are horrid and how they have to kill them. And the commercials are the cartoons are violent. They kill the Jewish people and these kids are brainwashed from
it's indoctrination.
From the beginning. There's nothing you can do short of wiping those people off the planet that you can do to stop them from hating the Jews and trying to kill the Jews.
Yeah. And I mean, here's politics doesn't affect me. I mean, one way or another, there are parents in Gaza who are Palestinian who support Hamas, probably whose kids have been killed. And politics affects you. Politics may have killed their kids because they've, you know what I mean? They have supported this stuff. People just, I'm hung up on this kids thing because that's the heartstring that every freaking liberal post has been pulling since this hospital got bombed.
That didn't get bombed.
Well, whatever got bombed. That they blew up. Or,
Nothing got bombed.
Yeah.
Because they don't have bombs.
That's true.
They have makeshift rockets that they don't know how to fire. They blew their own shit up and it was a parking lot.
It's a trip.
So I don't know though. Like you feel like there's certain things that would unite everyone. And if this wasn't one of them, then there isn't. There will never be. There's never any way to completely unite people because there are literally people that will justify what Hamas did on October 7th because their claim is that they're occupying Palestine's land. But okay,
you know why? Because
let's even say that that's true.
But it doesn't affect them, so it's easy for them to do that.
Well, yeah.
Right? So it doesn't. None of your friends got blown up, right? You didn't know anybody that was, affected, by the towers coming down. You didn't, so. It doesn't affect you. You didn't know anybody over there who was killed, so it doesn't affect you. So you think you're doing the morally right thing, and it's like, whatever, support, Palestine, and it just doesn't affect them. Well, sooner or later, it's going to affect them. Sooner or later, if it gets bad enough here, you're going to know somebody who is going to be killed by an extremist.
Yeah,
you're going to.
It's just a matter of time.
It's just a matter of right. It's just a matter of time. Do you know what the ratio is? And people, I've seen people, Israel said this was our 9/11, and people are like, it wasn't your 9/11. You know what? Bullshit.
It's actually worse.
Bullshit. It was worse. The percent of population in Israel compared to the percent of population in the U.S. that was killed for the U.S. The percent of people that were killed in 9/11 compared to the people that were killed on October 7th in Israel, it would have been almost 30,000 Americans to have the equivalent percent of population killed. Can you imagine if we had an attack here that killed 30,000 people? We are a nation that, we had what, 2,400 killed in New York. And countless, by the way, that have died since because of lung cancers, because of, mental, psychological struggles and losing the battle, with that struggle. I personally know somebody who, after being in New York and helping out on a pier, literally she was sorting body parts who lost her struggle, so it's easy when it doesn't affect them. You know what I mean?
That's what kills me.
Let me post this because it doesn't, I feel it's the morally right thing to do.
That was so recent in the grand scheme of history, right?
Mm-hmm.
How far out are we? 23 years? 23 years.
22 years. 2001.
And it's like, and everybody will tell you how united we were the day after that, right?
Holy cow.
How far it's come. Like
how happy people were to have Bush in office, And
I know you can get into all the conspiracy stuff and the people that think our government did it and all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. Fine, whatever. I certainly hope there's not a whole, giant percentage of people that think that way. But either way, it's like we're so quick to forget and then get ourselves right back in the same situation.
Yeah.
What we've done with our border is no different than what we did letting those people come in, get driver's licenses, take flying lessons. They basically plotted the whole thing right on their own nose, and we're just right back to doing it again.
By the way, and the guy in L.A. who picked them up at the airport who said he just ran into them and they had, they were like-minded, which was complete bullshit. Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole cell was set up here, one of the pilots said to the instructor, "I don't need to know how to land." What the fuck? Who says that?
How does that not? You gotta be pretty slow to not just kind of
not raise an eyebrow over the fact that I'm learning to teaching somebody to fly who doesn't need to know how to land.
You don't maybe talk to a supervisor on that one. I know some of us are bad at our jobs, but come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, it's brutal.
But we're right back to square one where we've just opened the door again for ourselves to be hit like that. And it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
There's too many people in this world that hate us, that are constantly around the clock plotting to kill us.
It's going to happen.
And we just open the door and act like it's no big deal. They're just refugees, fleeing, war-torn countries, and they just want to come here and be safe. Bull crap.
Yep.
They've said, like, how many, I don't remember the numbers, but they've busted terrorists, known terrorists coming across the border. How many do you think they didn't get?
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way.
With our minimal manning and manpower with the Border Patrol on the southern border, if we're catching 10 terrorists, how many do you think got by?
I was just looking at Elon's video, and I'm like, which one of these guys' faces am I going to see next? Again, like which one of these guys who are clearly from the Middle East, who are coming across, who Elon is asking them, where are you from and where you're going, and like they don't want to answer. You know what I mean?
I might have to speed up my move to Florida because at least DeSantis has come out and said there will not be a single Palestinian refugee coming to my state. And there's just sadly, there's so many governors and leaders of this country that are just too cowardly to take that kind of stand.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
And it's not tough, man. It's simple.
No, it's tough
It is. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care about your bleeding heart. It's if you're elected official in the United States, the American people are your priority.
Correct.
And when your American people are prospering and safe and fat and happy, then you can go and do some little other things around the country to make sure other people are. But until they are, that's your only concern, and that's just we're not there.
No.
We're not even close to that.
No, as a matter of fact, we're so far from that, it's not even on the plate.
It's not. And there's only a handful, and it pains me. It pains me. And again, this is like, I know we kind of said, because it's hard to stay on a straight line on this kind of a topic.
Yeah.
But it pains me to see the Republicans and how they're handling things and how they will fight tooth and nail against each other.
Yeah.
But when they come up against liberals in a fight, they bend over and take it.
Yeah. Every
single time. And I will say, as much as I despise them, and I listen, I don't really pull punches. If you're a liberal, I just can't mesh with you. I can't. Mm-hmm. There's too many significant life beliefs that are just differing for us to jive. So as much as I despise liberals, I really admire the way they fight within their group. Like they have each other's back
as a unit. But it's funny. I think for the most part they do. And I think the difference is I don't know if they fight as a unit. They don't condemn each other. When the squad goes off on their anti-American duties, which is all, it's their entire agenda is anti-American. I don't care if you're a squad supporter or not. I mean,
well, you probably turned this off a while ago if you are.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a squad supporter, you're obviously not here at this point, and if you are, then you're just I have no words. But when they go off on their bullshit, other liberals don't check them because that wouldn't be the popular thing to do. They just
you know what?
They don't speak up against them. Whereas with Republicans, there is a group of Republicans, and there are people in the Republican Party that when you're not a conservative, when you're not a rhino, they're going to speak up against you and say, this person is not a conservative.
Well, it's kind of the equivalent. Well, you can kind of dumb it down because Americans love Hollywood and they love their pro athletes. So it's kind of like that team, that NFL team that has, they have issues, right? But they keep it all in house.
Yes.
All their fights are behind closed doors. They don't go to the media, and they figure it out in house. They obviously probably have issues, but they keep it in house. And then there's the team that as soon as there's a problem, somebody's mouthing off to the media, somebody's bashing a teammate or a coach to the press. That's the Republicans.
It's like we got Antonio Brown
we have Antonio Brown
and T.O. on the same receiving court.
Oh God! And it's just, we have no speaker, and these idiots cannot just figure it out. And I'll say, I didn't like McCarthy, and I didn't hate what this little crew of like 8 were trying to do to boot him out, because they're all bashing them, saying, well, they're the outliers, whatever. Well, we already know that, all these politicians are like in it for the long haul, and they're in it for their own preservation, and it's status quo. So don't rock the boat, because we're all making out like bandits. And these 8, like, I feel like they're like taking a stand against, with what they believe, but they don't. Now that you're looking at it, and now that we're here where we are, and there's no speaker, they didn't have a plan. So you didn't have a plan. You went hard to get McCarthy out because it was a personal thing, I'm sure, which I get. We all have we all have people we don't like, but like, you should have had some sort of plan. You should have known.
They couldn't have a plan.
You should have known, like, if we do get him out, who will we be able to get voted in that we're cool with, right? Because you still have to have all these people vote, and now here we are. They're not voting for him. They're not voting for anybody.
They're not going to vote for Jim Jordan. I mean,
which, okay, again, listening to everything I've been listening to lately, right? That also personal, because none of these people not voting for Jim Jordan don't like Jim Jordan.
Yep.
They all love Jim Jordan. They said, if you look at Jim Jordan's voting record, it's identical to McCarthy. Jim Jordan fought hard against them booting McCarthy. Mm-hmm. He's friends with McCarthy and thought he was doing a great job, right? Mm-hmm. And all of the people, all the Republicans in there love Jim Jordan, but they won't vote him in because that would be giving Gates and his people, his little 8, what they want.
Yeah,
so this is where we're at. We're at tit for tat instead of just an adult. And this is where I'm like, okay, well, the freaking Democrat, liberal idiots had a point. Like, I mean, you're not acting like adults.
Jim Jordan was 22 votes shy today. That's a lot of votes. That's a lot of freaking votes, man.
Yeah. And, but, again, that's the way they work, like, where it's like one little deal gets made to scratch someone's back, and those 22 votes, all of a sudden, they got them, right? So this is the bull crap that they play.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the world's in shambles, and we really could use some leadership on the floor there, and we have none.
And we don't have it. And I mean, and that's the difference. Like, we talk about how, we talk about how divided the Republican Party is, which is in its own right a completely separate, whole issue. But I think, to me, the difference is we have Republicans and we have conservatives. Mm-hmm. And that is the problem.
It is the problem.
And
because those are very different things.
They are two very, very different things right now. And they've morphed into, they used to be the same thing, but they've morphed into two very, very different things. Whereas, a true conservative, shouldn't be on the Hill for the back scratching. They should be on the Hill to, conserve funds, to
balance a budget,
to get, some of this spending, mind you, which is a problem, in check. I mean, you just can't cancel everybody's checks, but you have to figure out at this point how to reel it in, how to not write more. I mean, the fact that we're giving immigrants, what we're giving them when they come here, illegally. What we give them when we come here illegally. If people come here legally, they get shit.
Yeah.
You come here illegally, you're better off coming here illegally.
Yeah.
At this point. And that's that's what I have to say about that.
It drives me nuts. And then you have, the people on their high horse talking about this is a land of immigrants and it was built on immigrants.
Truthfully, it was.
100%. I don't think.
And religious
freedom. There ain't a single legit conservative that would balk at that one bit. But there's a big freaking difference. Those people came here. They wanted to be Americans. They wanted to learn the language. They wanted to follow the laws. They wanted to have jobs, and they wanted to be successful. They came here to be successful.
Yeah.
And now they come here illegally, not on a boat through Ellis Island, but across the southern border. They come here illegally. They don't care about our laws. They do what they want. They want to get free money. They want to send it back to their country, and they want to crap on us, and they want to talk trash about us the whole time doing it. And we are like, cool. Yeah, here's some money.
That's cool.
So, but today, what happened today? What Biden is giving $100 million to Palestine for humanitarian causes for the people of the war-torn
Are you shitting
Gaza.
me? I didn't
No,
even
he
see
proved that today, right? Now, is there anybody, is there a single person listening to this podcast at this point, because I don't even know how long we've gone, but is there a single person listening that thinks that money is going to end up anywhere other than in the hands of the people who started this whole mess and attacked Israel?
Yeah.
Like, what are the odds of that?
Yeah.
I mean, we've all seen the bazillion movies, media, everything of where all this money does, it goes, this humanitarian aid, this food, this stuff. The warlords of those lands, whether it's Africa or it's the Middle East, they always get there and get it and take control of it. Yeah. Always.
Yep.
I mean, they brought in water pipes so they could have water in Gaza, and they pulled them up. They have no water so that they can have rockets. What do you think this $100 million is going? Where do you think that money went that was going to Iran? Where do you think that was going to go? What do you think Iran was going to do with that?
They went right.
Was that for humanitarian aid as well?
No, that was for our
it's
people.
Such bullcrap, and it's amazing that we just allow it to happen. And this is why, you need someone, you need a people in the government that have the power of the purse that can shut this crap down, and the Republicans are too busy fighting each other, and money's just going out the door.
And mind you, the people that Biden just bought back off of, the American hostages that Biden just bought back off of Iran, are the same American hostages that Biden and Obama and I believe it was Hillary at the time left there when they negotiated that Iran nuclear deal, and never threw those hostages into the negotiation. So now we're going to give them, $60 billion to essentially fund a religious war against Christians. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah. So
no other way to put it.
So how close are we to World War III?
Man, I told you it's.
And how outgunned and outmanned are we at this point? We can't even come even remotely close to hitting our recruiting marks in the military right now.
Outmanned, we definitely are. Outgunned, I don't know if we're outgunned or not.
I'm talking about our military.
Yeah, our military is probably the weakest.
When we deplete our military
personnel-wise,
everything over to Ukraine, so that little hobbit can be rich and happy and party it up. And is there even a war going on in Ukraine anymore? Has anybody seen anything?
I don't know what's going on.
Have we seen any footage? Have we seen any, is there any real war going on? Has there ever been a real war going on? I don't even know.
I've seen more footage of the Gaza Strip in 2 days than I've seen of Ukraine in 3 months.
That's my point. It all feels like a scam, and everybody knows that the Ukraine is just there to launder money for the Biden family. It's
insane.
I see videos out of Ukraine, and they're partying. They have nightclubs, and they're women wearing their fancy clothes, and men partying, and they're dancing, and they're having a good time. That doesn't seem like a war-torn country to me.
What I'm not seeing out of Ukraine right now, and I feel like there was a lot of TikToks that came out of Ukraine. A lot. There were a lot of people, posting those missiles hitting. There was a lot of legit social media coming out of Ukraine. Coming out of Ukraine in the beginning.
Oh yeah, okay.
And honestly, I haven't seen any of that.
I haven't seen any fighting from the Ukraine in months.
I haven't seen any of it in months. I have no idea what's honestly. I'm not denying that there's something going on there, but I have no idea. I have no idea.
Maybe
I have no idea what's going on.
That we've sent there are actually working and stopping the war.
Who knows?
I don't know. Maybe. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe Biden knew what he was doing.
I think Russia's got its territory, and it's got what it's gonna get for the time being until it decides it wants more, and then they're gonna come take more. That's kind of what that is, and
so
if you haven't listened, getting back to, if you have not read,
it's an interesting tidbit I didn't even know existed, but yeah,
if you had not read the Hamas Covenant 1988, the covenant of the Islamic resistance movement, if you have not read this, pick this up, because essentially this document states that if you are not, practicing Islam, then you're going to be practicing Islam, or we're going to wage jihad.
Right. So
they're the two options that you have. You can convert to Islam, and as was said on TV this week, put Islam in every home because that's where it belongs, or you can engage in jihad.
So here's how it's going to go, right? So this is going to be long and drawn out because Israel is going to try to do this the right way. They're going to try to limit civilian casualties. They've already dumped in, did those flyers telling, the innocents, the civilians to leave, to flee, right? They've been voicing that now for a week. And they're going to go in, and it's going to be slow and monotonous, but they're going to root out these clowns, right? But what's going to happen over time as this goes, the sympathizers will grow. Hamas will continue to shield themselves with children and women in churches, and not churches, but schools and hospitals. And they already know that their weapons caches are in the basements of hospitals. They're in schools.
They're on the roofs of these apartment buildings where they're launching missiles from.
They're shielding themselves with women and children, so they're trying to make it extremely difficult. And then when one dies, then it's all over the news as Israel is killing innocent civilians. But Israel, I think, and I pray, doesn't care at this point. I hope that they're so angry and then it continues to burn that they go in there and they continue this fight and to weed them out and to destroy all of them until they're gone. But that's what I hope and pray. But it's not going to happen because as time goes by, what happened on October 7th fades, right? And then all the sympathizers around the world start, stepping in to say, well, Israel, you need to, that's enough. That's enough. You need to back off and chill.
How many times have we done that?
But that's just what keeps happening. Meanwhile, the cowards are underground just waiting it out because that's what they do.
Yeah.
They'll wait it out like the roaches they are. And then when that happens, Israel backs off and this happens again in 5 years.
Yeah. Listen, Israel would have kicked the shit out of Egypt had it not been for us. They would have kicked the shit out of, Jordan had it not been for us. And now, rightfully so, they do have a peace accord between Israel and Jordan. And there is some coexistence there. But there will never be coexistence between Israel and Iran, between Israel and Hezbollah, between Israel and Hamas, and between Israel and Palestine. There will never be coexistence. Anybody who puts one of those coexist bumper stickers on their bumper.
You don't have a t-shirt?
And anybody who does has no understanding of any of that. They might have some hope, but they have no understanding what these people are fighting for.
Hope. They're just clueless and lost and stupid.
There is no. These people have a doctorate that they have drafted.
I just want to rear end them.
I know. They have a doctorate that is drafted, that is their equivalent of their Constitution of the United States that says Israel must be destroyed.
Who out there?
I don't know how to make it any clearer.
How are you in your right mind if you really believe in your heart of hearts that you can coexist with someone who wants you dead? You specifically. They want you dead.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I can just be really nice to them and have my coexist sticker and tell them how much I love them, and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
You're dealing with generations and generations and generations of hate.
Yeah.
That doesn't just go away. And I told you, they're brainwashing their kids from day one on who they need to hate. And it's never going to end. And they're always going to have, this propaganda to give to their kids to build the hate and grow it and keep it going from generation to generation. It's never going to end.
No.
It's never going to end.
No, it's not going to end until people are dead.
But you know what we did have? A little bit of peace. A little bit of peace.
4 years.
When you have a president of the United States, the strongest nation on the planet, with balls.
Yeah.
And doesn't care about bleeding hearts and doesn't care about what people think about him. You had a little bit of peace. It was quiet, zero wars. I would take a whole bunch of mean tweets right now to know that my southern border is closed and that my family's not in jeopardy.
Yeah.
And we're nowhere near that.
No, no. I'm grateful we
Nowhere
live
near that.
I'm grateful we live in kind of like where we live, where we're
Really?
not, well,
I don't like being anywhere near New York or Philadelphia at this point, and we're way too close to those.
we are very close, but we're not in them. And I feel like when you're in them, it's very different.
Oh well, yeah. I mean,
To be in a city,
again, it baffles me anybody that would.
to be in a city is, I mean, my alertness when I was in the city of New York,
Man. I couldn't imagine.
on Monday and Tuesday was,
I couldn't imagine.
very peaked.
Like I'm that way where we live, and it's almost like there's no reason to be, but there's nowhere in this country that you shouldn't be watching your back 24/7, alert of your surroundings, and just aware. Because man,
I sat in a restaurant. I sat in a table all the way to the back towards the kitchen, facing the door. Most people don't even think about that.
Well,
why am I doing that? So I can see the front of the building, and I have an exit to the back of and I'm close to the exit to the back of the building. And
until little bastards come to the kitchen and get you.
Well, you never know. I mean, hey, I'm hedging my bets, but
The Chinese nationals are cooking your dinner in there.
It's interesting. It was actually an Italian place that was basically run by a guy who was calling me Signor. Picture that. It was pretty good Italian food though. But and I was with somebody who was like, I said I took the long way around. I went all the way, up to the GW Bridge and down, the Harlem River Drive to get to the Upper East Side instead of going through the Lincoln Tunnel and going up that way just to avoid Times Square. And, she's not from the Northeast. And she was like, why? I was like, because they're still protesting in Times Square. I don't want to be anywhere near that. I don't want to be near that traffic. I don't want to be near any of that ire. I don't want to be near, anything where, it's like a tinderbox where something can really happen. I just don't want to be near that. Yeah. And I said, she was like, well, this seems like a nice neighborhood we're at. And I was like, well, we're in the Upper East Side. I said, this is the largest concentration of Jewish people probably outside of Israel, as far as like square miles in population goes. And she says, oh, that's good. And I was like, well, you think that's good. I think that's a target, and it's just two different, it's just two different ways of thinking and looking at something. I think that is not necessarily, a good thing. I feel like that's a magnet for, some extremism at this point, Yeah. So I was definitely on the alert, more so even than usual, honestly.
Yeah, it's crazy to think, I know we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different upbringings, we all have different ways of thinking about life, but it's crazy when you actually encounter people that are like, and it's not necessarily their fault, but how naive they are.
God bless your naivety.
You know what I mean? Like how they think everything's they're just floating through this world thinking everything's fine and nothing can happen to me.
You know why? Because not everybody saw smoke rise from ground zero. Not everybody, went to work that morning and unloaded pallets of,
But there's so much history.
Burn packs because we expected survivors that never fucking came.
I mean, did you not?
Have
you not seen? I don't even care I don't care whose version of history it is. Every history book has like crazy stuff that's happened. Mm-hmm. Like, so how do you just think, oh, well, that happened in history. It can't happen now. History repeats itself.
I feel like people think we're like a more advanced society now. Or
we're not. We're really not. We have more technology now, but it's really just more ways to kill each other.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Man, I hope that there's people like us, and I hope there's a lot more of them than what's portrayed like on TV and in the news and stuff like that. I really hope that, there's people listening that understand the things that we're saying and are like being prepared. Like it's never been more evident. I mean, when you see terrorists in hang gliders, landing in a peaceful area of partygoers and concert watchers and then slaughtering them, raping them, beheading them, taking them. You know, it was, and just these people thought that their life was great and they were having the time of their life, and then they were either dead or a hostage. If that doesn't tell you how important our Second Amendment is, and if you live like us in a state that is very anti gun and anti, the Constitution and Second Amendment. Now, if ever there was a time to take a hard stand and try to make a push to get your laws where they should be, like, now's the time. You have like this perfect example to go off of. Now is the time to push for what you should have anyway, but we live in it and we understand how it works. But now is the time to fight for your right, not to party, but to defend yourself and your family and the country, because this is a perfect example of, what liberals are, trying to push is, oh, you don't need these guns to hunt. Well, nobody has these guns to hunt. None of us really need to hunt today. Like, people do it, and I'm glad they do it, and they fill their freezer, but none of us need it. That's not why we have them. Okay. And while, yes, it's there to defend ourselves against our own tyrannical government. Yes, sure. But more so in this situation, how many times have we seen it now? Ukraine. They did it in the Ukraine. They're now all of a sudden this crap kicks off and happens, and they're handing out weapons to their civilian population because, you know what? We can't defend you all, so you got to do something, right? Yep. Same thing is now happening in Israel. They're handing weapons to people.
And Israel, what's ironic about Israel is you're required military service in Israel.
Right, and they had to call up 300,000 reservists who let's how trained are they? You know what I mean? Like, but this is just shows you, like, that's the ultimate reason that we need them. Like, we are not immune from these things happening, and though it may have not happened yet at this point, like,
it's gonna happen.
Records are made to be broken. Just because we've gone the longest without being invaded doesn't mean it's not going to happen at some point.
They weaponized domestic aircraft, and they attacked military installation. Yeah. They dropped buildings in the city, and people say never forget. And I never understood never forget. I got to be honest, because my rationale was like, how can you not remember? You know what I mean? How can you not remember? I never understood, like, the phrase never forget until recently. Really? And now it's like people are forgetting, and it pisses me off.
I get it. I totally get it.
And it just, and now we have a whole generation of, voting people who have control over this country's destiny, who were not alive to wake up one gorgeous September morning and have your world change because the country's been attacked.
Yeah. Yeah, I get to never forget, because I see our nation. I mean, we're babies in the grand scheme of nations, right? But I just see us as definitely quick to just forget. I mean, look how quick we forget Pearl Harbor and that tragedy, and what that did. So, I mean, we just forgive and forget like nobody's business. The rest of the world holds a grudge forever. Half of them, if not more, hate us for some past beef, right? And we're over here just like, oh, we're great. Everybody loves us. We're safe. We're fine. Let everybody in.
It's all fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine. It's going to be fine. We have literally pro-terrorist people marching our streets, our campuses. Yeah. A lot of your children probably over there spewing this crap because you didn't raise them right and you sent them off to be brainwashed at college. So you're partly to blame too.
How about Wall Street giving Harvard a smackdown? We didn't even talk about that. We're probably an hour and a half into this. We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah. I mean,
happy to see it.
Definitely,
people stand up.
It fits into this, though. I mean, it's a result.
It's like, so we have obviously Palestinian, if you don't know this story, Palestinian sympathizers at Harvard published a doctorate or a letter, or I didn't actually read it, but they went beyond just a simple protest. They actually, they published an article, and a couple of Wall Street companies want to know who are those people. Mm-hmm. I want their names because I don't want to hire them, and I don't think any of them should be hired. Yeah. And again, freedom of speech, and I've always said this in modern day, you know, freedom of speech is one thing, but freedom of speech has consequences. And I feel like you need to be prepared for that. And people think that, you know, they could do whatever they want or reverse, and they think they're morally right and this and that. But, you know, it's, you know, people don't. Well,
listen, I mean,
people don't support it.
The Jewish people, you know, as a whole, are pretty successful people. There's a lot of very rich Jewish people.
There are.
And you see today, like, you know, there's a big billionaire donor that backed out of any support of Harvard because of the stuff they're letting going on their campus. So, you know, it's funny. We'll see how quickly these universities reverse course and stop allowing it when it starts to hit the wallet, right? Because that's what controls everything.
Money makes the world go around.
The funny thing is, and I was telling George earlier, like, there's a lot of Jewish, and we said that we don't understand it, but there's a lot of like Jewish liberals, like especially in like Hollywood, right? Who typically on most things fall way far liberal, but all of a sudden, now that, you know, Israel was hit, you know, they're not siding with the typical liberals, and they're coming out speaking out against, you know, Hamas and all this stuff. And it's funny to see, funny because, you know, there's crazy stuff going on, but it's just funny to see like that kind of a little bit of an infighting amongst the liberals and the left. A
little bit of a tone change,
you know, because now you're really hitting their heritage and you're hitting their people. And now it's a little bigger than just like the typical first world problems that, you know, Hollywood and America likes to squabble over.
And we talked about this too. I don't understand at this point today. Maybe a year ago it was different. I don't understand how at this point, if you're Jewish and you're liberal, how you can still be liberal after you voted and supported a man who just gave $60 billion to people who want your country wiped off the face of the earth. And you know what? Maybe somebody can explain that to me. I don't know.
I would love to hear it.
I don't understand it. I don't get it. You know, I don't. Iran wants Israel gone. Hamas wants Israel gone. And by gone, I don't mean relocated. They want them dead.
The funny thing is, we try to sit here and act like it's over a piece of land.
It's more than that.
Let's just pretend, and you know,
I mean,
liberal fairy tale land world, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the Jews were like, okay, you can have it. We're gonna move over here, somewhere where no one wants to be.
Yeah.
These people would still find them and want to kill them.
Absolutely.
It is not about the land, and if you think it is, you're full of crap. You're lying to yourself and everyone else. Wherever the Jews are, if they exist, these people are going to find them and try to destroy them. That's been going on since the beginning of time, and it's not going to stop.
It's been going on for a long time, and it's I mean, there have been 1066 Grenada massacre, 1,000 Jewish families killed.
1066.
The First Crusades.
Use your calculator and do that math.
The First Crusades, thousands of Jews killed. Many were forced to convert to Christianity, right? The Spanish expulsion, 1492. Spain rulers issued an edict to declare all Jews who refused to convert to Christianity would be expelled from the country. Estimated 200,000 people were ousted. Tens of thousands died while trying to reach safety. The Holocaust, and 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. Russia, they used to have pogroms in Russia, which basically is, you know, violence against Jewish people. 1903 to 1906, in what is now Moldova, dozens of Jews killed. And that is what started the Zionist movement. And the Zionist movement was basically to bring the Jewish people, basically the whole Zionist movement is that the Jewish people need a state. Otherwise, their religion and their culture will be eradicated. Yeah. And it will water out and be gone. So that's how long these people have been persecuted and killed. Not over that. None of that's over land, by the way. That's all because of who they are. Right now, is this is about, and this is what it's worse is. This is about both. This is about, Israel and that land, who everybody thinks is their holy land, who, for all rights and purposes, is my holy land as well, and is your holy land as well. It's almost any religion dates back, to there.
Christians go there because that's why, because it's the Holy Land.
So is it about the land? Yes, but what people don't understand is you said it exactly. It is about who these people are.
I mean, not on those scales, not on those numbers, but we've seen it in the United States. We've seen it in Canada.
Yeah.
In recent years, these crazy attacks on synagogues. We just was it not in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it was right in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh, because I remember my Steelers, supporting the Jewish community and stuff. It's happened, obviously not on that grand scheme, but individual lone wolves doing this kind of crap.
Yeah.
Because that's what they've been taught and brainwashed since they were babies,
indoctrinated,
to hate these people. And when they have their opportunities, they strike. And I mean, I don't see how coexists. I don't. That math doesn't math. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Somebody's got to go.
I have a couple of conservative Jewish friends who I am actually going to I'm going to put out now. I'm going to see if they'll come on with us. Just to,
hey, why not?
Just to give us another level of depth, because you know what, as much as I can read, and I did a ton of research for this, I still probably can't really even grapple with it.
That'd be pretty cool. Because I gotta be honest with you, as strong and as pro-Israel as I am, and these things have come up over the years and stuff, and we've had presidents not be the best allies. Obama did some crappy stuff, and not being super supportive. I've always been, just because of my religion, always been super pro-Israel, but I've never really sat down
with somebody
and spoke to a Jewish person about these types of things.
Truth be told, we don't live in a community with a big Jewish population.
No.
We don't.
We're not far from one, but
we're not far from one. But we don't live in a community with a big Jewish population.
Yeah. No, and I mean it's not something I've never had that opportunity to sit down and discuss a lot of these things that we've talked about today and get their perspective, and that would be pretty cool. I mean, yeah. So I don't know how long we've been going, man. This is we knew this was going to be a long one because we were going to be rambling. And
I got nothing. I just didn't want to put a time limit on this because it was just.
I mean, this is
so deep, and it's so.
I mean, what's going on in the world right now more important than this? I mean, really, honestly,
nothing.
I mean, I know there's people in America, with their head in the sand or their head in Hollywood that care more about Taylor Swift and her tour and her relationship with Travis Kelce than this. But those people are idiots, and this is it, man. This is huge. This is a big deal. This is literally we're
on the precipice.
We're this close to just chaos and World War III and a lot of bad stuff, man, going on. So, and I don't know that we're prepared for it. I mean, personally, I don't think we are.
As a society, we are obviously not prepared for it.
But just as a nation, as a military, as being involved, actually involved in a war with the leadership that we have. I mean, that's
with Iran.
That's terrifying.
This is going to be Iran.
And these are the things, right? This is Iran, right? And now what we always talk about, the nuclear, and oh my God, Trump, if Trump wins, he's going to have this hand on the button of the nuclear, no wars.
None of this happened.
Typically, I mean, there was basically peace in a land that hadn't had peace in forever, right? Under him. No wars. We were all doing great. Everything was wonderful. Okay. And I understand that people want to be like, COVID and how That was man-made, that was generated, and that was political, whatever. Prior to COVID, like that whole peace accord and that stuff he had going on over there, and everything was like chill. And he had a long-term plan to get out of Afghanistan, and everything was going great. And now you've had this butt pirate for freaking 3 years. We're already funding Ukraine, pissing off Russia and China. Now we're involved, and there's no way we can't be involved with Israel, which brings in Iran and also Russia and China. I mean, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. Everybody go hide in your basement, but man, it's important stuff. It's big deal. Like it's scary. It's really scary.
It's a big deal. And you can look at Ukraine and be like, we shouldn't be there. Maybe you feel like we should be there. I feel like, that argument is probably a lot more split. If you are looking at Israel and saying we should not be involved, you do not understand that you're next. You're either going to be Muslim or you're next. And that's not my opinion. That is a fact of the Islamic resistance doctrine. They've published it. They live by it. They believe it. I don't care what you believe. This is what they believe. It's fact.
You either believe what they believe or they want you dead.
Or they wage jihad.
And yet, we have people right here in this country, just American people that like hate Christians that like preach the gospel and try to get people to come to Jesus.
Yeah.
They hate them, right? They're so anti-God, anti-Christians. But all Christians do is want you to have eternal life. And yes, do they stand on the corner at Sturgis and, preach the gospel? Do they go into public and preach the gospel? Do they do it, at abortion clinics? Yes. But when you choose not to be Christian, do they kill you and behead you?
Negative.
Right. So if you can't see the difference and you want to like hate on Christians and you want to give Muslims a free reign and then say, most of them are peaceful, which maybe they are, but you know what? I'll stand by what I say, and I don't care who hates me for it. If you're mostly peaceful as a religion, and you're allowing this minority to run roughshod and make and embarrass and make your religion look the way they're making it look, it's on you.
Yeah.
Okay. Take a stand. Defend your religion against the people that are ruining it. Simple as that.
Tarnishing it. Yeah.
Okay, because it's you play a role. You stand by and you do nothing, and then you just come to America to get away from it, and then bash America while you're here. You're the problem. So I really do believe that the majority of Muslims don't want to kill and behead people, and that they're peaceful people, but you're also allowing it to happen. And, that makes you just as guilty in my eyes.
It's just brutal. It's
so
brutal.
Anyway, man, I think we've gone on for a long time. I think we could sit here and discuss this probably for a couple more hours, but
a couple more glasses
I don't
of whiskey.
Want to bore you guys with repeating ourselves. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. This stuff in Israel is real. It's happening as we speak. As we talk about this, our president is in Israel, and who knows how that's going to go, because he's not great at speeches. So, but
last time he was in Saudi, it didn't go well.
I don't think this is. I don't think this whole thing's going to end anytime soon. I hope and I think Israel's going to stick to their guns on this after what happened to their people, and I think they should, and they're right to. And I think any nation saying that, you need to chill and just, all right, it's over, let it go. No,
they need to wipe people out this time.
If they don't follow through, this will just happen again, and it'll be bigger next time. So their responsibility, and at least they understand it, is to their people.
Yeah.
And just because maybe our American leaders don't understand that doesn't mean they have the right to tell other countries how to do it. And honestly, they need to just support them from a distance, give them moral support, and let Israel do their thing, because I feel like they're powerful enough to handle it. And honestly, from everything I'm seeing, they don't really want us involved, other than to just be have our back morally and verbally. I don't think they want our troops or anything like that. They're going to do it themselves, and they want to prove that they can defend themselves and they don't need America's help. And mad props to that. Do your thing. Don't let the rest of the world try to guilt you into stopping what you're doing. I pray to God they don't. And but buckle up, man, because if some of those other powers that be over there in the Middle East want to get involved, I don't know how we don't.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time at this point. But listen, if you've hung out with us this long, and
congratulations, you get a prize,
which is nothing.
You get to listen next week.
But and if you're as fired up as we are, about this, thank you.
Yeah, and we really wanted to get this out earlier, but schedules didn't allow. But
yeah, so tough.
Fortunately, it's not. It was one of those events. Sometimes you're like, oh, we want to talk about this world event that's going on. By the time we talk about it, it's over. Well, this isn't over.
This isn't over. It's still going on. And I had a lot of research to do. I mean, I pulled some stuff together. I even pulled some stuff together we didn't necessarily talk about. But, I spent, 2 days going through this doctorate, which if you have any doubts about the situation, you should probably look this up and print it out and read it.
Yeah.
It's very readily available online everywhere. It comes immediately up when you Google it. So thank you for hanging out and listening with us.
Yeah, definitely.
Listen, give this a share. Give it a like. Give it a subscribe.
Hey, and if you want your Coexist sticker, go to thisamericanride.com and get your American Coexist sticker. I'm just kidding. There's no sticker.
I'm like, man.
He was like, "What's going on right now? Do we have we don't even have a website.
We do need some merch though, and I've got some great ideas, and we've got a few things we've been tossing around for merch. So there will be This American Ride merch coming very soon.
But seriously, if you listen to this on one of the podcast elements, whatever they be, go over to YouTube and just give us the subscribe, because we're trying to grow this thing.
Yeah.
We want as many people to hang out with us and talk about it. And it's a tough platform.
It's tough growing this kind of content.
And honestly, on YouTube, it's even harder when you're talking about, maybe conservative related stuff. So
yeah.
Give us the subscribe over there. It's fine if you want to listen to it in your car on Spotify or Apple, but give us the support over on YouTube so that we can grow this thing up and get it out to as many people as possible. But yeah, and again, we've said this every time, and I haven't seen one yet, which is discouraging. But hey, send us an email at thisamericanride1776@gmail.com. Give us an email. Let us know what you think of the podcast. Let us know if you have a topic idea for the podcast, because again, this isn't meant to be all political down your throat. There are issues that we like to discuss and talk about that we don't get to do over on our motorcycle channel. But we're open to talk about anything that affects you and us and all of us, and
maybe it's something we're not thinking about.
Yeah, I'm sure there's things we're not thinking about that if you said, hey, talk about this, we'd be like, oh man, cool idea. So don't be afraid to send us an email, thisamericanride1776@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of the podcast. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Again, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, thumbs up, share. What do they do on the other? Like, what do you do on like Spotify? Is there like a thumbs up on that?
You can share it, and you can leave us a rating and let us know what you think of the dope new set, man.
Yes, man.
It's not done yet. Still working on it.
I like it.
I got a couple of shelves of good old American bourbon behind us, a couple of flags, some pipes, some tobacco. I'm working on it. Yeah,
no, it's come a long way. You get some stuff back on the wall so we can kind of kill this little echo a little bit. Happen. You guys probably heard that, but that's just because this whole room was emptied out for George to have it painted. So nothing's back on the wall yet. It'll get there. It'll sound better next time. But
yeah.
All right, stop rambling. It's been an awesome one. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Later.